Okay, welcome everyone to another exciting edition of the Financial Literacy Series. I'm your host and program manager, Anthony Smalls. We want to invite everyone to say thank you for coming. The session is recorded, so if you happen to miss it, we hope that you go back to our website or our YouTube and catch it later. So today we have two great financial advisories. Today we have Kevin and Kim. So let me give you a little background about Kim. Kim is a certified public accountant and a certified financial planner. She holds several tax services, insurance, and investment licenses. She has a New York-based firm called Playfair Planning Services. We also have Kevin here, who has saw a focus on the financial series on the financial industry, where people were helping them to invest in wealth rather than helping them make great choices on how to spend their money and save for great retirements. But together they manage over $100 million and is supported by administrative and financial professionals across the United States. So welcome, Kevin and Kim. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Kevin and I are delighted to be here during this special time of the year in commemoration of Black History Month. As you enjoy our presentation tonight, you're going to see a recurring theme of the stages of evolution, from the time an idea or concept is conceived right through to development. And we'd like to acknowledge Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, for conceiving and recognizing the importance of acknowledging our history, and then giving birth to making it an official month, expanding it from Negro Week, President Gerald Ford, and then on to development, bringing the concepts home to Mount Sinai. Dr. Reginald Miller, appreciate all that you've done to expand this program, as well as to you, Anthony, for coordinating and bringing a wonderful audience to hear all that we have to share. Kevin?
Good evening. And I echo what Kim said, just delighted to be here, to be sharing with you in Black History Month. I'm always reminded of the quote by Martin Luther King, where he said, "We are not makers of history, we are made by our history." So having the chance to reflect on that history and how it's affected communities, minority communities, people of color, I think is so vitally important. And it's so great to celebrate that. And certainly in the latter years of the King movement, his conversation, as we know, started to turn toward economic matters. So it's quite fitting that we're here and kicking off Black History Month with a conversation about financial matters and economics. So again, Dr. Miller, Anthony, thank you for having us.
Great, so Anthony is going to get us started with a few polls tonight. Many times when we think about Black history and all of the contributions, there's a great focus on the names that we know and love, yes. Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, but we also want to bring to light many influential Black economists whose names may not be those that typically get mentioned across the kitchen table. So Anthony, we're going to launch some polls and see how knowledgeable our audience might be about some of the less popular but still very influential contributions.
Yes, so the way that the poll is going to work for everyone, we want you to look at the names that are listed on the list right here, and we want you to actually use the poll function to guess who would be the correct person for the picture. So we're about to launch the poll. We'll give you a few minutes to give your selection. If everyone can see the poll now, I believe so. So the first person here, is it Thomas Sowell? Is it Derek Hamilton? Is it Don Lemon? Or is it Thomas Spiro? The next person and the list of names, let's read that real quick. So is this Maya Angelou? Is this Claudine Gay? Is this Julianne Malvo, or is it Jada Pinkett Smith? And I think we all know Jada Pinkett Smith. Let's see the next picture. Okay, so this picture here, is this William D. Darity Jr.? Is it William E. Walter E. Williams? Is it Denzel Washington, or is it James L. Jones? And if everybody knows James L. Jones, he plays in Star Wars. He is Luke. I am your father. So, take a moment just to pick which person you think is which for each of the 3 pictures. We'll give you a few moments to do that. And after that, we will come back and give you the correct answer and some background information on the people. Okay, I see some answers coming in. Thank you for participating. Those who participate. Also, I just want to let you know too, what we're going to do is we're going to offer some type of gift at the last session. We don't know what it is yet, so the more you participate, the more you pay attention, you might win a prize. So just want to throw that out there real quick. Okay, so we got a few answers. I'll be closing the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the poll. Okay, share the results. Okay, if everybody can see, the first person everybody chose was Thomas Sowell. A few people picked Thomas Sparrow, so nobody picked Don Lemon, which is great. So you should see Don Lemon on television every night. You should know who that is. The next group is Maya Angelou. Nobody picked J.D. Pinkett Smith. That's great. And Julianne Malvo, and Claudine Gay. So there's some people that actually know the answer to this one as well. And the last person, we had William Darity, a professor at Duke University. And we had William E. Williams, who everybody majority picked, Denzel and James Earl Jones. So a lot of people did well. I will stop sharing now. We can go back to the first real quick, and I will give you the correct answer. Okay, so this first picture here, the correct answer is Thomas Sowell. So congratulations to those who have picked that answer. Thomas Sowell is a highly influential Black economist who is often included on a list of important economists. He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution at Stanford University, where he has been a scholar since 1980. Sowell has made significant contributions to the fields of economics and political economy, and is well known for his work on race inequality, as well as his perspectives on public policy issues. His books, articles, and speeches have been widely read and discussed, and he is highly respected for his contributions to the field of economics. Thank you so much for that one. Can we go to the next one? I will give you the answer for the next set of people. So we know it wasn't Jada Pinkett. If you know Maya Angelou with her poems, we know it's not Maya Angelou. So is it Claudine or is it Julianne? The answer is Julianne Malvo. She is a highly influential Black economist, author, and commentator. She is best known for her expertise on economic and political issues related to race, gender, and social justice. She holds senior positions in academia, including serving as president of Bennett College for Women, and is a regular contributor to media outlets, including CNN and National Public Radio, NPR. She has written numerous books and articles on economics and public policy, and is widely regarded as a thoughtful leader in her field. Ms. Malvo's work has helped to shape the conversations about the intersections of race, gender, and economics, and she is highly respected for her contribution to the field of economics and public policy. Thank you so much for that one. So whoever got that right, congratulations. Let's go to the last group of people. So we had William Darity, we had Walter Williams, Denzel, and James Earl Jones. So we know it's not Denzel, we know it's not James Earl Jones. So between the other two, the correct answer is Mr. Walter E. Williams. He is a highly influential economist and author who is often included on the list of important Black economists. He is a professor of economics at the George Mason University and a scholar at the Hoover Institution. Williams is known for his expertise on public policy, race, and inequality, and has written numerous books and articles on this topic. He is highly regarded for his contribution to the field of economics and is widely respected for his perspectives on public policy and his role in the government and society. Williams' work has influenced academic discourse and has helped advance the field of economics. So thank you so much for participating in the poll, and I hope you got to learn some great Black influential economists in the field. So I will throw it back to Kim for the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Anthony. We hope you enjoyed that engaging session and learned a little bit more about the contributions that have been made by Black economists. As we think about the history of money and how the past has impacted our future, it comes to mind, well, why do we study history? Right? Kevin gave us the quote from Martin Luther King. History helps us to understand how events of the past has shaped the way things are. It allows us to grapple with complex concepts and understand how things are continued to shape globally, nationally, and our local relationships in society. Money is no different. In the early stages, as we realized there needed to be an exchange for value, and money as we know it today did not exist, people had to figure out, how are we going to make that happen? So tonight we're going to unpack three things, going back from the time of barter right through Bitcoin. We're going to talk about, how did we get from finance to Binance, right? What is this cryptocurrency? What are these things that we're hearing about? Why are they important? What role do they play? How do they work? And why is it that they're becoming so increasingly popular? And thirdly, what is the difference between investing and speculation? So those are the three areas that we're going to cover. But I find it's helpful to kind of connect some of these concepts that can sometimes be a bit abstract to something that is easily understood. And certainly with our medical professionals, the brain is something that you all probably have even a deeper understanding of than Kevin and I. So we're going to keep it big. We're not going to cross lanes. But Kevin and I know enough to know that the brain starts off very, very small, as a tube, and develops over time and evolves into something far more complex. So we thought that would be a good analogy to gain a deeper understanding of how money evolves from the conception to the birth and then development. So let's unpack that. How was money conceived? Why is it that we have to work our way from bartering all the way up to Bitcoin? And as we compare the barter system to our brains, we realize that more complex transactions came about, right? Just as our brains need to adapt for more complex lives as we grow older, we realize that moving from the barter system, sometimes there's it's just not practical, it's just not efficient. And so we develop more complex things, going from barter system to metallic money, to paper money, to electronic, and eventually digital currency. So with that, let's launch our second poll, just to level set us and think about how money and our brains connect. So if your money had brains, what do you think it would spend its time generating ideas to grow by? Would it spend its time growing, investing, or speculating, or something else?
And as the questions roll in, give you a few more moments to continue to participate.
Yeah, investing seems like it's taking the lead.
Yeah, it seems like it's
but we do have some second. Yeah,
got a few risk takers out there speculating.
Yeah, we do have some speculating and great information for both. Seems like investing. You gonna close it, Anthony?
4, 3, 2, 1. Share results.
All right, so investing takes the lead by 77%, 23% are speculators. I think both groups will get value from our talk. So let's let's delve into that first. And as we go back to our comparison of the evolution of money to the evolution of our minds, considering those stages as we go: conception, birth, and then development. Diving into conception. When the brain and the idea of conception is conceived, there has to be a coincidence of wants. And as we think about what our brains do, there is a coincidence of wants. Think about just I would say, like, even involuntary actions, just the ability to breathe or for our hearts to beat. The brain is indirectly directing many of those types of things. So if a person's brain is not functioning at all, the body is not going to get much value. Still be alive, but not much value. Similarly, with the exchange of goods and services, there has to be that coincidence of wants to barter. If you don't have something that I need, a bartering system is not going to work. What happens then if I need something and the person who is in close proximity to me doesn't have the item that I want? That is what gave birth to a new type of system, realizing that at the birth of money, now we don't have to necessarily have to have a coincidence of wants. If you have money and I have something you want, we can simply do that exchange for value. And back that first birth was metallic money. Coins were made of various metals, coins of gold, silver, bronze, nickel, and so on. And it is obviously over time, even though it felt like great progress back then, you can imagine us being weighed down with all that heavy metal now. Nobody even wants to see coins.
You're going to chop off a bit of coin, gold for some groceries. That'd be hard, Kim.
Exactly. And so we evolved to the birth of fiat money, later declared legal tender by government. So we moved from a system that was backed by metal and gold to a system that was backed by various governments. And obviously that worked better and was more efficient. But again, our society continued to evolve and develop, and we realized not only do we not want to have to be walking around with coins and paper, we need to develop more sophisticated methods to deal with the transactions. So I'll hand it over to Kevin to talk about how did we develop from there. Kevin?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. And just continuing with your analogy, I think, which is a great one, as the mind develops and evolves, at some point it becomes fully developed and it thinks differently. It kind of reminds me of the expression. Remember the old slogan for Apple computer? Steve Jobs said, "Think different." And I think he wanted to use different as a noun, like think victory, think beauty. So we're inviting you, our guests, to kind of think differently when it comes to money, because we're at a point now where that development of the mind or of innovation is now intersecting with the concept of money. And when we really think about it, much of that innovation has really already occurred in the form of electronic currency. When you think of electronic currency, we're talking about online payments, PayPal, debit cards, credit cards. So a lot of these things are being used in an electronic form. And it really helps to streamline really money policy, because now when you make a payment, it comes out of your account immediately. And that vendor recipient receives it almost instantaneously. The Fed Reserve, they did a recent kind of diary of the consumer payment habits. And they said in 2021, consumers used cash only 20% of the time. Now, in 2016, it was 30% of the time. And there was another study done by a Nerd Wallet that said 67% of car purchases are done using the debit card, and that ATM withdrawals are really declining. So that not as much activity with ATM cards. It said that 45% of consumers prefer to use their stored card information to do online transactions. You know how when you go online, you get ready to buy something, you don't have to enter your credit card information, it pops up immediately. So a lot of people prefer to use that. But there are like 500 and I think 459 billion credit cards in society. But Kim, you'll like this statistic. 45% of people pay off their spending every month. So that's a good stat. So this electronic currency is I think the new wave, and many businesses really find, to be honest, handling cash to be expensive, because I've got to hire the labor to handle the cash. I've got to have someone to manage it. Someone has to count it in or out. Someone has to reconcile it. Someone has to transport it. Someone has to even secure it, which can be a challenging concept. I mean, you think about one of the fastest growing industries today is the cannabis industry, but they're not federally legalized. So in the US, most banks won't let these owners deposit their cash. Can you imagine the security that it takes to run a cannabis operation and transport it? So to your point, society is fastly moving toward a paperless society. I was in Chipotle's a while back and I took out some cash and they said, "I'm sorry, we don't accept cash." I said, "What?" So we're there. And the next frontier is certainly digital currency. I mean, and when we think about digital currency, again, we have to think different as it relates to that. I mean, it is plausible that digital currency may become a form of transacting business in the future. I'm reminded of a quote that I read that said, "Innovation is seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought." Innovation is seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. And I think that's what's happening with digital currency. What is digital currency and how does it affect you? So digital currency are encrypted tokens or coins that represent value. Much like Kim talked about bartering earlier, these encrypted tokens or coins have value. They can be purchased from an investment firm. They can be purchased on crypto exchanges like Coinbase, software apps like crypto.com. You can even purchase cryptocurrencies on Cash App. So these are places where you can buy these tokens. How are these tokens used? They can be used to buy goods and services. Now, there's a lot of companies are starting to accept Bitcoin. A few of the big ones, Microsoft, AT&T, Overstock, the Miami Dolphins and Dallas Mavericks, and guess what? Virgin Galactic is accepting tokens for space travel. So they're really ahead of time. That's okay. I'm going to stay here local. I'm not going to space travel. But so that's a little bit about cryptocurrency, digital currencies. Now, how is the price determined? It's really determined, it doesn't have intrinsic value. It's really determined by supply and demand. The more interest there are, the need for your coins relative to the supply, the price goes up. So that's why you find a lot of companies are trying to encourage people to use cryptocurrency, because the more demand there is, the higher the value. Now, again, when everybody gets scared to death of crypto, there's a crash, that demand drops relative to supply, and so the supply drops as well. Now, there's some people that invest in digital currencies, similar to investing in stock. Some of the unique aspects of digital currency is you always hear this term, they are decentralized. They are kind of stored in a decentralized online ledger called the blockchain technology. But essentially decentralized in the sense that when we talked about these electronic currencies, when you initiate a transaction through the bank, whether it's PayPal, whether it's a debit card, there's still a middle person, right? There's still a central authority. That bank has to process that transaction, a central authority. Well, with cryptocurrencies, there is no central authority. I make a digital payment to a person directly. It's almost like a peer-to-peer payment. There's no involvement in the bank. There's no financial institutions. There's no regulatory authority. That can be good and bad. But there's essentially no middleman. I essentially take my tokens and transfer it to someone else, which is kind of why criminals like to use cryptocurrency because it can hide illicit transactions. Essentially, they can just send digital assets across blockchains and bypass any kind of central service or banking institution that could trace these assets or freeze these assets. And it's hard to conceptualize, but if you ever looked at a ledger of activity with cryptocurrency, you just see numbers, you don't see names. So therein lies the digital nature, the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies. So let's talk real quickly about the three major varieties of digital currencies. Now, there are over 21,000 cryptocurrencies available. But see, some of the major ones, first one is the stable coin. Stable coins, they're really designed to have fixed values. Even if the price changes, ideally these stable coin values will maintain their value. Now, truth be told, in this last FTX debacle, that didn't happen. A lot of stable coins still lost their values. But one of the ones that seemed to have performed well is called True USD. It's backed by the US dollar, and it has sort of maintained the stability. Now, these stable coins can be pegged to anything, gold or anything, but ideally, they give the consumer greater confidence that there is some price stability. The next type of digital currency you've heard of is probably cryptocurrencies. And, some of the big ones, the most popular is the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. These are all different types of cryptocurrency. I think Bitcoin right now is one unit is worth $23,000. Now, you can buy fractional shares of these currencies. I could buy $150 worth of Bitcoin. So I don't have to spend that much if I don't have to. The next kind of series of cryptocurrencies, this is kind of a new kid on the block. It's not really, it's a concept so far. Central bank digital currencies. It essentially would be an electronic form of central bank money. It would be digital. It would be issued by the bank. It would be universally accepted, sort of like Kim mentioned with fiat currency. Fiat means, it's a legal term, it means by decree. By decree, these funds have to be accepted if tendered for goods or services. So that would kind of be what would happen with central bank digital currencies. But again, as we mentioned, you may not really consider it a cryptocurrency because there's a central authority, and that would be the bank would be interacting there. So that's a little bit about cryptocurrencies. Let's do another question real quick here. So cryptocurrency is backed by a central authority. True or false? Excellent. Excellent. It's like the results are in. It is false. Excellent. Fantastic. Kim, I'll turn it back over to you. You're on mute.
Yep, just unmute. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, sure.
Great insights there on cryptocurrency from Kevin. Let's talk a little bit about why crypto has become so popular. Obviously, everybody wants to be in on what's hot, right? News travels very fast, and crypto has been in the news. Let's face it, we can't get away from it. We've been inundated with it, and we want to know more about it. Another reason is that it's very easy to monitor. And thirdly, the accessibility to crypto is a lot more than what it was in the past. So let's start on that first one. News traveling so fast. When it comes to any kind of investment, investors always are notorious for chasing good performance. When Bitcoin was originally developed back in 2009, it was the only type of crypto on the market. And that's one of the reasons why it became so popular. We're looking at a price range that went from $30 to over $47,000. I mean, is that not going to be very popular? So in 2009, right, going from close to zero up to 47,000, everybody's going to want a piece of that action. News is traveling fast. And then on top of the news traveling so fast, if it's something that's very easy to keep one's eye on, where you can literally have your smartphone and you can get a sense of where it is and how it's doing, that simplicity has been very attractive to people. We have the link in the slides that you can download from the chat, where you just click on the OKX and you can monitor Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrency there. That really lends itself to popularity. And then thirdly, accessibility. If something is easy to get, people are going to want to get it, especially if it's hot. So people previously that were trading Bitcoin were only able to get a form of access in very limited online platforms. But these days, it's very simple for people to get involved on trading cryptocurrency, different brokers, different websites. So that increased accessibility is one of the fundamental factors why crypto has become so popular. The third segment for tonight, now that we've talked about why it's so popular, you have an understanding of what it is, how it works, and the history of money, where it all fits in. Let's now talk a little bit about investing versus speculating.
Thank you, Kim. And you kind of provided a great segue when you, again, kept discussing trading and the values that are going from $30, did you say, to like 46,000?
47,000.
47,000.
Yeah.
So we really find ourselves on the doorstep of asking the question, what's the difference between investing and speculating? And it's important to know that when you're in this cryptocurrency space. So let's just review some fundamentals. Investing, typically the theory is that when you're investing, in terms of investing and speculating, investors take kind of a systematic approach to growing their wealth. They typically buy assets at reasonable levels of risk in exchange for long-term growth. A lot of conversations we're having with our clients right now, Kim, were, hey, stay the course. Long-term growth is we have to remind our clients that that's what we're in this for. Speculators, on the other hand, buy assets and they may experience rapid growth, just like the graph you just mentioned. But they can also lose their entire value very quickly. So speculators, they kind of believe that they can beat the market, even though it's been proven that the average person kind of fails to do that. When it's time to get in, generally it's too late. When it's time to get out, it's generally too late. So speculation can be kind of influenced by, the hottest trend, as you mentioned, kind of what's hot and popular. So we just have to be kind of cautious of this so that we don't find ourselves in this bang or boot or bust kind of scenario. If we look at Bitcoin, Kim, and you touched on it, let's just kind of look at the trend over the years. And that's a very interesting graphic that shows kind of where it started out and where it ended. And I'll just add some text to that. In 2014, one share of Bitcoin was like $754. And then in 2018, it grew to about 13,000, maybe about 13,000 there. Yep. And then you see the drop off. The drop off in 19, the very next year, dropped down to 3,800. And then it rebounded, peaked in 22 at $47,000, dropped the very next year to 16. So again, Kim, we don't want to see our 401k doing this, right?
Not at all.
Again, but again, depends on your goals. Now, an interesting study was done, speaking of crypto, by Ariel Capital Management, African-American owned mutual fund company out of Chicago, and Charles Schwab. And it was interesting that they said they found that 25% of Blacks own some form of cryptocurrency compared to 15% of whites. And in this recent crash with FTX, there were some articles that said that African Americans did experience some degree of hardship because of the weight that they had in cryptocurrency. Now, there's a lot of conversation about why our communities are more inclined to do crypto, because we have faced, let's face it, we've had bad experiences with traditional financial institutions. I mean, in terms of mortgages, how they appraise our houses, redlining. So, you know, we don't have the greatest relationship with these traditional banking institutions. So we may be inclined to entertain digital currencies, but we want to be just very, very careful about doing so. So I guess the question comes, is crypto good or bad? The thinking there is it's the one consensus is that it is speculative. It should be viewed as speculative. Again, it has no intrinsic value, as we mentioned, and it's determined by supply and demand. So we want to kind of always be thinking about it in that context. Some of the risk and consider some of the things you should consider. We just talked about the volatility. Fraud is a big one. I mean, the biggest news story over the last month was FTX, where the owner took $10 billion in tokens and transferred them to a different trading fund. So rampant fraud. And it's interesting, we talked about crypto not being regulatory. So the DA out in New York, that's where you got to go to get justice, Kim, filed a claim against FTX, but it was a fraud claim, not a regulatory claim, but it was a fraud claim because, again, there's no regulation to say that they violated, but it is fraud if we gave you $10 billion for this purpose and you redirected it somewhere else. So again, we want to be careful of fraud, lack of recovery. Again, we see that here with FTX. These investors have virtually no ability to recover their assets. When you're looking at these investments, you always want to see FDIC or SPIC at the bottom of their letterhead. That means that if FDIC, if a bank goes under, at least there's a federal agency that can make you whole if that bank defaults. With an investment firm like Kim and ours, we have SPIC. If our investment firm falters or there's fraud, they can make you whole. The problem you have with FTX, the problem you have with Madoff, they were not legally, Madoff was not even legal, but they did not have these forms of insurance, so the investors have no recourse but bankruptcy court, okay? So again, things to be careful of. I think that leads us to the ultimate question, should I invest in cryptocurrency? And I love this answer that I give to everybody. And you doctors do it the same. It depends. It depends. And again, I think some of the things you want to think about if you enter this space is, what are your goals? Are you investing or are you speculating? What's your risk tolerance? We saw that curve go up and down. Okay, if I've got my educational funds in there, college funds, that's not where I want to be. What's your financial capacity to absorb significant losses if that happens? And then we saw that percentage, 25% of African Americans, cryptocurrency. What's the percentage of our net worth that's involved in cryptocurrency? So these are some of the things that you want to ask. Certainly, we always encourage you to have a conversation with a financial advisor about these things to help put them into context. Let's take another poll. Which quote resonates most with you about cryptocurrency? Take a moment to look at these. I think these are interesting quotes. Our results.
We're starting to see some of the answers piling
Okay,
now.
all right, take your time. Take your time.
So it's 8 responses. Can I get one more? Can I get 9 responses? Start this like an auction. Then 9, 10, 10, 10.
Well, you know, these are interesting because you got to read these a little bit, Anthony.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's kind of interesting.
Well, it's
Okay.
working. He worked his way up to 10. We're
right.
working our way up.
We get 11, I can stop the poll. Okay, we'll stop it in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's share the results.
Okay. Complex. Okay. So most said that it is a complex and rapidly evolving field, and the future is uncertain. Well said. Well said. Well said. Excellent. Well, I think finally, you know, no good thing comes, you know, without any consequences. So, you know, Uncle Sam's got to get engaged in this, right? So the tax man cometh. And of course, they've got, what, 87,000 new agents that are on the way, if they don't get derailed by the Republicans. The issue is who they go after, right? It's like, go after the big guys. But I will leave that there. But so there are some tax consequences. There is an IRS notice that was issued by the IRS. The IRS considers cryptocurrency to be property, and any income or capital gains or losses need to be reported. So you may say, how does that happen? Say you receive $200,000 in Bitcoin for an examination, a medical examination, okay? And in January. And then 6 months later, your practice is doing well. And you say, I'm going to use this 200, I'm going to spend it to buy an airline ticket on Virgin Galactic, okay? And that costs you $400. Well, guess what? The difference between that 200 that you received and the 400 value that you were able to use it at represents a $200 ordinary gain, ordinary income. And that difference is taxable. So the IRS, they really believe that only a fraction of people are really reporting activities from virtual currencies. But if you look at your 1040 tax return this year, you're going to notice an interesting question that's on the tax return this year. And it reads as such. At any time during the year, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in virtual currency? The answer to that is yes. Most likely the IRS is looking for you to do some kind of reporting of the taxable transaction on your tax return. Last poll I think we have here
Yep.
is so having this conversation about cryptocurrency, and you guys have been great participants in this. What does being crypto conscious mean to you? A couple of options. You understand it, but avoid it, watch it on the sidelines. Wait and see where it goes. Try it, and be prepared to cut my losses, and take what I still have. Add to your exposure to my portfolio and the diversified investments under consultation. I like that with the professional. Right?
So we're at 7.
All right, we got there pretty quickly.
9. We had 10 last time. There we go, 10. Can we get 11 this time? 11. Now give me 12. Give me 12. So since we got the majority, we would close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Share the results.
Good. I like those. I think they're both for kindred. Understand, but avoid, and watch from the sideline or wait and see. So I think the operative word is caution. I like that. Kim?
Absolutely. Well, what an education. We hope that everyone has gained a lot of value from having a better handle on crypto and the merits of it, the challenges that come with it. And just thinking back to the gamut that we've run as we consider the history of money. We want to be able to continue to evolve in our thinking. Not get flat-footed and stuck in the past, you know, being open to new ideas, but also being cautious as we develop and adapt over time to meet the need for new systems.
Yes.
We've covered a lot of ground from, Bitcoin from barter to Bitcoin. We talked about why it's so popular and just understanding that while it is not a traditional currency as yet, it is important to proceed with caution, even though you may want to participate. As financial advisors, there are still restrictions on us as far as what we can do with crypto. We do not and are not allowed to solicit. Don't see a need to necessarily solicit. There are certain approved investments for those clients who might be seeking exposure to those types of investments. But again, we always very prudent to make sure it's suitable and implemented appropriately. So definitely investing, when we think about the third segment of our evening, investing versus speculating, I think it's fair to say that crypto falls under the category of speculation. Most wise investors would agree with that, and it should be treated as such. There's still a lot of mystery around how Bitcoin even came into existence. Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym that's used for Bitcoin, and no one really knows who that is. Is that a conglomerate? Is it an individual? So there's that mystery, so to speak, around Bitcoin that I think in many ways can lend to its appeal. So just consider all of what we've shared tonight, and I would say take everything with a grain of salt, and just be mindful to make sure that wherever you fall on this gamut of investing to speculation, that the money that you are using to invest or speculate is appropriately aligned with the goals that you have in mind. As Kevin said, we do not want our 401ks to be bang or bust.
Don't want that.
Right? So those serious goals in life,
Yes.
we want to have, I think, a more methodical approach and not go bang or bust. Kevin, any additional thoughts there?
No, I think you summed it up well. Prudence, study, and again, I commend Dr. Miller and Anthony for really having these kind of sessions, because they're informative and they are a learn in which we learn facts, figures, numbers. I do have another famous quote that I like to use by W.E. Du Bois. Kim, I'll share this when I close, and he says, when you've mastered numbers, you will in fact no longer be reading numbers any more than you're reading words in a reading book. You'll be reading meanings. And that's what we want to get to. We want to get to a point where we're reading meanings of these instruments. We're not caught up in numbers, but we transcended the noise, really transcended to a higher level of meaning and understanding. So I think these webinars get us there, and I'm just excited about this one and the ones that are coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about it. We've also developed a tool to keep everyone engaged, and so you can track your progress as we proceed from one webinar to the next. I believe the link is in the chat. It's also on the slides. It's a very quick tool that you can use just to benchmark where you are now versus where you want to be. Anthony mentioned that Mount Sinai has some programmatic incentives to keep everyone engaged, educational tools and different things. He joked with me and said last year they had books, but no one came to pick up the books. So whatever it is, let's hope that you stay engaged and you go to his office and collect these lovely tools. There were a number. What was that, Kevin?
I was going to tell him tickets to Beyonce or something like that.
So the Beyonce tickets are hard to get, so we can't get that for the session. I am trying to figure out what to get you at the end of our last session. We will announce what the gifts will be. We're trying to figure out how many people participate in the polls that we have during the session. And if you look in the chat box, please click the link and use those surveys to also be tracked for the metrics of winning a prize. We'll figure it out before the last session. We'll probably announce it at the last session as well, so that way I can get everybody's emails right then and there and let you know what your prize is. But please continue to participate.
Yeah, and we did receive some pre-questions. Please continue to submit the pre-questions. Some of the questions that were submitted would be addressed in some of the future webinars, like the one next Tuesday evening about figuring out your credit score. Those that were related to tonight's topic, we think we did cover them in the information, but if you have additional questions, go ahead and put that in the chat while we wind down in these final minutes. We're delighted to be here. And again, as Kevin said, Anthony, I think it's a fantastic job that you're doing in rounding up and getting financial literacy out there. I mean, there's a few things in life that make life work. It's not the only thing, but money is one of them that, you know, that helps life to work well. And it's important to us, to Kevin and me personally, that we put information out there that it's going to make a difference in the way people's lives turn out, and not just today, but generationally. And money is one of those things, like music, that transcends the generations if it is handled well. So we are just delighted to be here. We look forward to being here every Tuesday evening at this time to share the upcoming webinars about credit scores and market insights and navigating some of the do's and don'ts of wealth building. So it's going to be a very engaging series, hopefully very experiential, not like, you know, the typical webinars that you feel drenched with information, but hopefully, you know, some good metaphors, some good analogies, ways that you can bring it home, and nice tidbits that you can share with your families and friends about what you learned tonight.
Thanks. And since we're approaching the 7 o'clock mark, I wanted to ask if anybody had any question before we get off that you wanted some clarity to. Maybe something that was said that you want more clarity on. Please come off mute and just ask a quick question. If not, then we'll mark this up as a perfect first session, and we'll let everybody go early for the second session. So does anybody have a question? You can also use the raise your hand function. I believe that's in the chat. I believe it's that there. Well, it's at the bottom. It's at the bottom of reactions, I believe. Sorry. Yes, if anybody has any questions, we'll close it out in 5, 4, 3. Oh, what is the first link for? The first link at the top. I believe that was when they were presenting about one of the slides. They were talking about the Ethereum that Christina put into the chat. The Ethereum link. That's about pricing and stuff like that, right?
I'm sorry, Anthony, can you repeat that one more time?
I'm sorry, Christina had put a link in the chat. They asked what that first link was. It was markets, prices, and Ethereum.
Okay, yep, that's where you can go to monitor the performance of the cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Absolutely. If that's the same link. I'm not looking exactly at the link, but yep, if that's what it is, yep. Okay. We got a lot of links going on. The links to register for the webinar, the links to monitor crypto, and the link for the survey. Be sure to fill out the link for the survey to track your attendance. And it's not really just to track your attendance, it's really to benchmark where you are relative to where you want to be. So we have different tools that we use to help people to track their financial progress. And we've just kind of made it into little snippets, bite sizes for each webinar so that you can rank where you are versus where you want to be. So that's a useful result that's going to be very helpful for you to make smart choices about your money.
Yes.
Yeah, see us
Okay.
next week. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you next week too. Thank you for
So
coming.
I don't have a question, but more of a comment, just because I know you guys. Thank you so much for explaining and giving us more insight on crypto. I know when this became, it's like that the new hot topic in the past couple of years, it was clear as mud to me. So I've been trying to do some side research, but it almost really reconfirms, that this is somewhat vital, and this presentation allowed me to, as I say, confirm that it's. I'm a risk taker, but not that big of a risk taker because there's a lot of uncertainty. So thank you so much for clearing up the clear as mud that I was having over the past few months and years. So appreciate it.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Awesome. We appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate that. I think one of the things I learned in investment is the younger you are, the more risky you can be. When you start to get close to retirement, you want to start being more conservative, so you don't want to lose too much when you're ready to retire. So I think that's the format they normally go with, but they can correct me if that's correct.
Yeah, I would say in one's life cycle, you're always reassessing risk. So your risk assessment early on is different than later. And within that risk, you still always calculate what those risks should be. So I think, well said, Anthony. I think it's a continuum. It's not a static assessment. It's very dynamic.
Absolutely. And everyone's different. Everyone's tolerance is different, but I think most people would agree that as we get older and and less able to work, we have a more, I don't know, grueling reaction to getting a statement where there's a significant dip in our assets. Like it feels one way when you're working and you have time on your side to make it up, but when you don't have time on your side, it's not a good feeling. And I think that's something that kind of lends itself to a different risk tolerance as we get older.
Yeah, very good point.
Okay, so with that being said, we have to stop, Mark. We want to thank everyone for coming out. We hope that you can join session 2, 3, and 4 the following weeks, every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much, Kim and Kevin, for a great presentation. Everyone have a wonderful night. Get home safe and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Anthony. Thank you for everyone for attending.
Thank you.